How does one go about, if they've never seen their families have anything, obtaining generational wealth?
It's not about a budget. It was never about a budget. We all know that 1 + 1 = 2. And if we want something that costs $3, we don't have enough money for it.
Welcome to Come Back with Erica Cobb, a community of folks like yourselves who are getting ready and staying ready for their next chapter. And this chapter is going to be one where we are going to have some financial prosperity. We're going to do a little bit of savings, and we're going to be a little bit more financially minded. My guest today is an entrepreneur with over 20 years of expertise in the financial field. As the founder of Buffie LLC, her success derives from her professional and innate ability to demystify the daunting world of taxes, personal finance, and small business management with skilled, practical, and sometimes all the time, sassy guidance with her clients. She is passionate about teaching financial literacy with her book and e-course, Crawl Before You Ball. She is a true Southern belle and is most commonly recognized as a third-generation tax practitioner from a family of tax pros. She joined the ladies of Bravo's Married to Medicine in their 7th season. She's giving me a thumbs down. She is also recognized as a highly sought after national tax and personal finance expert seen on HLN, CNN, and CNBC. Buffie Purselle, welcome to Come Back with Erica Cobb.
Erica, yay! Can I hire you as my publicist?
Hey, I'm going to put that on the resume. Actually, I like to do the voice of God, you know, when you say all of the accolades when you're in a theater. Yeah. I think I'm going to make a profession out of that.
You got it. How are you? Thank you for having me.
I am so
Again, wonderful. Your show's so much fun.
Yes. Okay. So for those of you who are new to Come Back with Erica Cobb, Buffie has been on Come Back before. We have had her on my daytime talk show, Daily Blast Live. Honestly, I don't know if we have had a guest on our show who has been as talked about as you were. Honest to God.
For real?
Yeah, because this is what I love about you is you say what it is, whether people want to hear it or not. And when they hear it, I think it resonates so much with the average person that they're like, okay, she's speaking to me and she's actually trying to help me help myself. So when did you realize that you have this gift?
Well, before that, I want to give a shout out to you for being a real one and like always trying to put people on and trying to help. And it's like, you wrote a book. I want to help. Like I'm gonna get your book, and you read it. And like, people need to know that, like, you really care, because there are a lot of women out here who don't look out for each other. Mm-hmm. And like, you're like, no, you need to do this. And I'm not going to stop until I can help you. And I just really appreciate you for that. I really do.
You know, I think that energy is a very strong thing. And when you meet people that not only you connect with, but you truly believe in, I mean, we need each other. So you've helped me out so much with my personal finances, and people know my story because your girl was super broke and bankrupt.
She ain't now though.
Yeah, the comeback. I'm not just saying come back. The comeback has happened. So I appreciate you as well. So thank you for that.
I appreciate you too. Now, what you asked me?
I'm wondering when you first discovered that this was truly a gift for you to actually speak to people to help them help themselves.
That's a really good question. I think early on in my childhood, like my mom always says that she remembers me like just seeing someone and I would recognize that maybe they were sad. And maybe as early as like 7 years old, I would go up to someone and say, oh, your shoes are really nice. And it wasn't like I was fibbing. I would like their shoes, but it would put a smile on their face. And so I think I recognized the power of the tongue at an early age and how that could impact someone's day in their life. And I wanted to put that to use when I started my tax practice and other financial endeavors.
I love that. I do love. Yeah, I'm always like looking for something. I'm like, there's always something about each person every day that makes them special. and you identify that, you connect with that, and you have like, you really have a moment, like a true moment that day with someone else. I love that explanation. So you mentioned your mom, and we talked about how your family, you come from a background of finance experts. So explain a little bit about your background.
So my grandmother, Miss Dorothy, Miss Dots Lee, she's the original serial entrepreneur in my family. And she got my family, my grandparents were actually sharecroppers. And she, being really good at math, knew that wasn't the right situation. And she actually helped the landowner with his books because he couldn't do it. And so she was, she could check him and be like, no, you're not going to shortchange us. This is the math, and 1 + 1 = 2, and that's what it is. And so she got a job outside of the farm once she had enough kids to help my grandfather. And she started saving money, and she got them out of that situation. She bought a whole bunch of land. She built her home that we still have today. And she just started buying a whole bunch of land, and she made her money by putting trailers actually on the land and rented it out to people in her church and her community and people who work with her. And she had this huge garden. And every time I talk about my grandmother, she's just amazing. She had this huge garden, and anyone that lived on her properties were able to come at harvest time and get whatever food they wanted. And, the grandkids, we all had to like blanch we had to shell and blanch peas and do all this stuff. And then we would go out in the community and give everything to everyone. And that had a profound effect on me, on my mother and her siblings. And so then my grandmother, so she started the tax practice, the family business. And then my mom, this is the next generation. My mom had offices. And then when I was of age, I was the third generation of my family to open up my chain of tax practices.
We have so much in common because you're talking about your grandmother, Dorothy Lee's.
Dot Lee, yes, Dorothy Lee.
Dorothy Lee. My grandmother's Dorothy May.
Yes.
And yes, and my mother always talks about, because my mother is in math. She's was a professor at DePaul, and my mother talks about how she became so literate in mathematics, and it was because of her mother, Dorothy May, who would tell her when they went to the grocery store, tell me how much everything in this cart is going to be.
Yep.
And she got so good at it that she would be only like a couple dollars off sometimes with a cart full of groceries. But my grandmother too was very, very savvy when it came to math. And I actually still have the ledger of her, of the home that she owned. And it's a handwritten ledger to the deed to the home. So it's, yes,
she kept them books, honey. Nobody was gonna tell her.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes,
We
I
don't
love
think
it.
about that, like how far that goes back and how much that really affects us today.
Yeah. A lot of us have gotten away from how grandma used to do things. I remember my grandmother used to pay her bills, and I would see all these envelopes, and she would take the cash, and this is insurance, this is for this is for that. And I just, later on in life when we took over, like actually I take care of her expenses now. And I think back to it and I'm like, oh, it was really smart, because when you see that you have cash in your hand, right? And you take away from the amount that you have, that that's going away. But when we're using these debit cards, we don't see in our mind that that's reducing how much cash we have in the bank account. And so there was something to grandma saying, I'm going to go grocery shopping and I'm only going to take $100. Because now when we go grocery shopping, we're just swiping, honey. We're swiping to swipe. We're not looking at prices, nothing. And there's just a lot that we can learn from our grandmothers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I understand that you have financial literacy in your background, but you do say that you didn't always know what to do with money. So can you explain that?
I was a hot mess in college. I was flying to London to get my hair done on the weekends.
Not London.
Yes, honey, because I had this late. It was back when nobody was getting weaves, honey. I was getting the weaves. Only celebrities could get the weaves. I'm a little bit older than you. I would fly to London. I remember one time I was late for a statistics final because there was a fire at Gatwick Airport. And my professor thought it was so funny that I had gone to London to get my hair done that she let me take it the next day.
She was a Black woman?
Yeah. She was
Assume it's
lovely.
one.
She was like, "Me, your hair's cute." So I was fine. She let me take it the next day. But yeah, I was wilding out. Like I bought a house when I was 19, which was smart. But
Mhm.
then I fell in love with a boy who was a grown man who was using me for my money. I gave him a job, I bought him a car, and then I saw him driving, in the convertible with another woman. It was a mess. I talk about all this in my book. I was a hot mess, honey. I was a human ATM machine. I was a pay to bill girl. I don't know. I felt like because was successful early on and I had wealth guilt, which you know about.
Mhm.
I just felt like I had to take care of everybody. And
Yeah.
so I was a mess. I started out like doing what my family taught me, where I was like saving 80% of my income and, only spending 20% of it because I lived well under my means. I always drove a hand-me-down car that my mom gave me or something. I was never into any of that.
Like a Bessie.
Well, that's true. I was spoiled. I did have a BMW. My mom did give me a BMW.
No, no, no. I was talking about your car. It was
Bessie was
Bessie's.
a Mercedes. People always check me out. You was a spoiled rich girl, but whatever. I was still, it's fine. But it was an old BMW. But anyway, so yeah, no, I always drove hand-me-down cars, even though they were luxury.
Yeah.
And I then all of a sudden I saw everybody around me and I was trying to keep up with the Joneses. And then I tried to outdo them because I was like, y'all ain't got no money. I really have money. And so I spent it
Mm.
all. I spent it all. And then, I had to start over.
I love, and we're gonna get into the book, but I love what you said about the guilt, because I think a lot of people, this is the guilt of having some type of some type of financial means, especially when other people around you don't
Mhm.
necessarily have the access, is such an interesting conundrum because you're already feeling like either it could be a survivor's remorse or it could be a wealth remorse or just a middle class remorse, and then other people around you are also sometimes manipulating the situation to make you feel not only more guilty about where you sit financially, but also to make you feel like you should be extending resources to them. So, can you explain the difference between times where it's appropriate to extend resource and times where you're just being manipulated into believing that you should?
Okay. So this a lot. Right. All right. So let me take times when you get manipulated because that happens more often than not. I'll give you an example. I had an aunt who was a single mother and her phone was cut off one time. Her cell phone was turned off one time. She didn't have any other phone. And she had a young son in school and she came and cried to me about it. So I paid her cell phone bill that first month. The next month, she was like, "Oh, I can't pay it." I paid it again. 6 months later, it was being automatically drafted out my account. I just took it on as my own bill.
Yeah.
And I just noticed I saw her with new fresh braids, new heels, nails done all the time. And I looked a mess because I was working all the time trying to rebuild after I had done all that stuff I had done. And I remember I stopped paying the bill and her phone got cut off and she cussed me out. What if the
Wow.
school tried to call my son? I'm like, that's not my bill. Like, at what point were you going to call me and say, you've been paying my bill, Buffy? And she never would. And I love her. God rest her soul. She passed away. I love you, but Auntie Didi, you was wrong. And so
Lord.
you was wrong. And so, it happens all too often. People are always telling me in my digital course, they're like, how do I stop the Cash App requests daily? It's just $20. You make XYZ. It's just $20. But see, the real deal is, I bet you, if you call other people in the family that get hit up, they done hit them up too. So it's
Right.
20 from you, it's 20 from the
Right.
cousin, it's 20 from your sister. These people paying their rent with 20s.
Yeah.
Real talk. And it's like, it's a thing that they do every month. And the reality is you're not helping them. You're enabling them to get their hair done, enabling them to do stuff that they shouldn't do because they no longer have to worry about that expense. The way that David and I help people on both sides, the white and black folk beg.
Because you got to clarify.
You got to clarify. They beg as much as the black folk, if not more. Actually, they ask for more damn money. Sorry, clean more money. But anyway, sorry. Butter alum. The way we do it is you can come work in one of these businesses and earn it. I'm not gonna just give you money. You can come
Right.
work in David's medical practice. You can come help out with Buffy, or like you see on my social media, the nephews, whenever they want something, you can come up here and do some work in this greenhouse, help build this theater. Like, because I feel like that's better, because then they're not resentful of you because they earned it. And then you don't feel
Right.
bad because you got something out of it. It's just
Right.
better for everybody.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. This is something I haven't told you before, but the first time you were on Come Back with Erica Cobb,
Yes, come back with Erica. Go.
the first time you were made an appearance, I actually received a text message from someone I hadn't heard from in quite some time, a relative, and they were asking for money. And I was like, I know I should not be doing this, but it was money towards a business expense. And so my response was, and really wasn't sure what to do, because I was being like pulled in one direction to be like, that's not a ton of money. And if it means that you
Stop.
can,
Pause. 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 See, that's how they get you. It's not a lot. It's not, the little amounts add up, Erica. But anyway, go ahead.
well, this is what I said, and I felt good about it. But I said, listen, you are trying to get your doors open. We can do this in a couple of ways. Either I can take a percentage of this business
Yes,
and
ma'am.
we can work together on it, because I do believe, and the business has been successful. We can work together that way. Or I can give you this money, but this is the last time I will ever give you money. And I'm like, and I'm very serious about that. And so he's like, well, this is all I need, and I was like, okay, I'm not even going to ask for it back. I'm going to give it to you, but it's cut off. And it has been cut off, and he's doing well. And I'm excited to have been able to be a part of that. But it was something where I was so conflicted, because I literally had just gotten off with you.
Uh-huh. And you
I
and you
wanted to
didn't- and
call
you
you
know
right
my
back.
phone number, right? I was like, why you ain't called me? But you handled it well. I really like the whole give me a percentage of the business. And you would have said some small, whatever. It's just you have some skin in the game. And so you feel like there's some equity or reciprocity in what this transaction is. But there are times where, obviously, if you feel like you want to help a family member, and it's never alone, it's always giving the money, child. Let's just keep it real.
Yeah, exactly.
It's perfectly fine. But if you got them repeat offenders, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. And I like how you were like, this is it. Don't ask for anything else. And so, you can always go back to, I gave you that money and I told you, and you're free. So, I mean, I'm fine. I like the way you handled
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you.
it.
Well, I am a student of Crawl Before You Ball. First of all, this cover is amazing. I
Thank
think
you.
it really speaks to everything that you're talking about, breaking the cycle of generational poverty. It's a strong message, just the aesthetics of the cover. This book, okay, first of all, it's a must have. It's a great introduction to financial literacy. And especially because this is not something that is being taught in schools. For a lot of us, it's not something that's being modeled at home. So you go over a lot of different topics in this book. And I just want to touch on some of them, because obviously, we're not going to give people the cow. Like, you got, or don't buy the cow, or when you get the milk for free, but we're going to give you a sample. Okay.
Right. You need a sampler.
Exactly. So you speak on something that has been a very big buzzword lately, and that is generational wealth. So how does one go about, if they've never seen their families have anything, obtaining generational wealth?
So, I think you have to change what you believe generational wealth is. I think society, as I call society in my book, has made us think that wealth is the Kardashians.
Mm,
Wealth is, and that's not, that's not a true picture of wealth. Wealth is could be social connectedness in your family. Wealth can be having the freedom of having time. Um, it can be monetary, obviously, and it can be your health. And so I would say, if you don't know if your family has wealth, the first thing you can do is, does grandma have a house?
mm,
Do grandma them have a house still? Usually everybody, grandma, most people, not everybody.
yeah.
Most people, grandma, auntie, somebody owns a home. right? And I don't care what this message is that they're putting out now. Oh, you should be a forever renter. Don't buy into that. I could speak 3 hours on that.
Yeah.
Maybe you have me on another time talk about that theory. But most people in America build their wealth with real estate, with properties. They start with that because it's simpler than getting into the markets and doing all this complex investing and all that other stuff. And so a lot of people have family members who have properties there in the woods somewhere, but that's all right. It's still some land. That's a value to it. They're not making any more land, right? Like that's the thing I think a lot of people forget. And we don't keep those properties up. And so I want us to start going back, looking to see if our family has land. I put out a post recently on my social media about grandma's house, and I got so many responses from people saying their family has 20 acres of land here or 100 acres of land there. We have wealth. Like our ancestors knew that that was the way to get to the next level. And I think we've got to get back to the basics of taking care of that. So the first thing is start talking to your elders and ask them, who got a house in the family? Let's all get together and try to fix it up. Let's make sure the property taxes are paid, because that is wealth also. You don't have to be 100 millionaire to have wealth. If grandma done got a house that's worth, whatever, that's wealth, that's legacy, that's land, that's roots. And if anything goes wrong in your life, you could go pitch a tent on that land or live in that house and have somewhere to go, because most people's biggest expense is housing. So there's some freedom in that. You know what I mean? So yeah, first look and see who got some land, who got a house. And usually people are surprised. Them old folks had money. Them old folks knew what it was about. Okay.
Yeah. As you were talking about that, my grandma Stella just came up, and my great grandmother, because the last time we were back in Red Springs, North Carolina, we went to the land where her trailer still sits, and it's been untouched pretty much since the day she passed away, and that was over 20 years ago. So when I think about it, I'm like, what actually does happen to that, because it's been sitting untouched? And I wouldn't be surprised if there were a lot of other people who are in a similar situation and it's just not talked about.
Yeah, we don't, but I'm starting to talk about it. I want people to go back. I don't care what structure's on that land. The structure doesn't matter. The land is what matters. And we need to make sure that them taxes are paid. We need to make sure that grass is cut. We don't need to give the city any reason to do eminent domain and take the property from us. And when we think about it, what do they fight over in wars mostly, other than gas and oil? Land. And so they ain't making no more of it, and we need to keep it as long as we can. It breaks my heart with these stories where people are like, grandma died and nobody in the family could come to an agreement, so we sold the land. And it's like, that's our everything, y'all.
Yeah.
Like, never sell the land. Like, never, like, all these people now with these my makeup artist today was like, my rent is going up to $1,700 from $1,200. How do they expect people to pay this stuff? It's just crazy. But grandma done still got a house. Grandma got a trailer. Grandma got a box. Nowadays you can buy boxables. Those are the new trailers, honey, for cheaper amount of money. Throw them up on this land and live a different life of freedom, and not giving all your money just for somewhere to lay your head. And so we got to just come back, have a come to Jesus moment with the family. Who has the land? Let's pool our resources and make sure we keep this in the family, because that is true wealth.
So when you were talking about redefining generational wealth, I was also thinking that when you were on the daytime talk show that I host, one thing that got a big response was you talking about your nephews who you mentioned earlier, and how you allowed them to stay in your home so that they were able to save enough money, and now they own their own homes. And people, I mean, I get it. Everybody has different familial situations, but there was a lot of comments about that. And we're actually doing this within our own family. I'm so proud of my sister who made that decision to move home and get completely out of debt.
Love it.
Yeah, she is. I'm so proud of her. But why do you think people are so hesitant to make that cohabitation situation happen in order to get ahead?
Because we bougie and selfish, and because And because, again, we let society tell us that if you're not living in a single family dwelling and it's just you and your immediate family and you're not smiling and constantly on vacation, then you're not a good person and you're not having a good life. And that's just ridiculous. There's so much that comes from that social connectedness of being close to family. Like family will stop you from making some crazy mistakes too.
That's
Like
true.
to be able to just go next door. Think about our ancestors. Like my grandmother has 2 blocks, right? And so it was like my grandmother's house, she had some trailers, and then it was my big daddy's house, and then my big mama's, like all these people. And I remember in the summers, I would go sit at my grandma's house and do stuff. Then I go down to big daddy's house and talk to him. Just being close and
Yeah.
being able to get advice from family is everything. It's everything. And so we're bougie and selfish, but I'm telling you, people ain't gonna have a choice pretty soon. Co-living is gonna have to happen because these folks cannot afford, like, where they gonna go? Like, I mean, when they're telling people you got to pay $1,700 a month in rent, or you got to earn 3 times that in a month to get into the apartment, who's qualifying for this stuff?
Right. Right.
The average people can't afford, like, so where are they gonna go? Where are they gonna live? And so, the answer is co-living. It is, if there isn't a family home, maybe we need to try to buy a house together, or maybe we need to go lease a house together and everybody in the family live there. Other cultures do this all the time, Erica, and you
Right.
know it. And the family member that maybe doesn't have a job, your job is to cook, clean, keep these kids, take them to school. That's a value added service to the agreement. And everybody paper the deal, put it in writing so that, you get 3 strikes and you out, whatever it is. But it's possible we can do it. People live with roommates. Why you can't live with your cousin?
Right.
Why you can't let your nephews come live with you? Like I said, them little boys, one of them still lives here. Aiden, stinky, smelly behind. Get your laundry done. Quit leaving dishes in the sink. You don't have to, I have a housekeeper, not you.
Oh my gosh. No, it's so true. I'll say, because my little sister is 7.5 years younger than me. And she was like, I don't want to be like the bum sister who is just squatting at my sister's house with her husband and, like, whatever. And I was like,
Girl.
child, like, you are here. I don't have to come back right away after work to walk the dog. Like, there's never any dishes in the sink because
Right.
she always takes care of them. She's like packages, like all the stuff, because she's working from home
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not. But it did get a little hairy for a minute there because Anthony and I just decided to pick up and go away for the weekend and leave the dog. And she was like, wait a minute, I feel used. And I was like, what do you mean you feel used? You used in this whole house. What do you
Right, honey, you live in a lap of luxury, so you're gonna babysit this dog, just like Aiden. When we were in Hawaii recently, stayed his butt home for a week and watched the dogs. That's what you
Yes.
do. That's your
Yes.
contribution.
So you can work it out. You can definitely
Mhm.
work it out because you'd be paying for those services.
Correct. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think we really have to take a second look at families coming back together and living together. And sometimes your family is your friend group. Didn't have to, if you don't have that relationship and it's going to be detrimental to your mental health for you to live with actual family members, if it's a toxic situation, think about your friend group. If y'all borrowing money back and forth from each other every month anyway, maybe y'all need to have a conversation.
Mm. I was so panicked spending money
Yeah.
because I said I have never spent this much money on a party before. And it took the joy out of the celebration for me.
Mm.
And I was just like very, very panicked. So I had to kind of like bring him in to be like, is it just me or is this something I should or should not be doing? And he was like, Erica, you need to relax. And he's, responsible with money.
Very. Both of
So
y'all are.
yeah, so he's like, you really need to relax. But it gave me like, I was really panicking about it because it was just a new frontier for me. And I didn't feel good about it because I know what it's like to lose everything by trying to do the most.
But y'all don't do that. And so it's important to crawl before you ball, which means you can ball sometimes, Erica,
Yeah.
especially when your man turns 40 and all the good things that y'all are doing.
And that word is deserve.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
why do you feel like we should be careful about deserving or feeling like we deserve something if we really, really want it?
But see, you use the right word. We really want it. Want. not deserve. Deserve is dangerous because deserve will have you out here driving a Lambo truck and living in an apartment. I mean, I live in Atlanta, so I see it every day.
Yeah.
Deserve is dangerous, and deserve is I'm suffering and I work hard and I do all this stuff and I see all these other people balling out of control and I never do that. So I deserve to do this. And you think you'll just do it one time, but that deserve will trick you. It'll be every day before you know it. And then you're going to deserve that negative bank account that you got. So
Yeah.
you just have to really be careful. And again, it's okay to like want things. It's just budget for it. And when you budget for it, then you won't have as much guilt associated with paying for it because then it just looks like an expense in the your annual budget that you and your partner put together.
Right.
So it's like we said we want to go on this vacation, we said we want to do this party, and so we put money in buckets to accommodate that, and it's not taking away from our savings, it's not taking away from what we have to pay every month anyway. And so then you won't have so much anxiety associated with it. If you think about it, a lot of people are just out here swiping the card and not looking at their account every day. And I just don't know how the heck they live like that. Like, I'm just like, the last girls trip I ever went on, I was like, how did you come and you don't have no money?
Lord, people, that is one thing. Lord,
I never went on a girl trip again. I was like, you ain't got no money. And I'm having to pay for like I would have so much anxiety associated with going on a trip with other women and you didn't pay what you're supposed to pay. And then you get there, they ain't got no darn money for food, to go out, nothing.
I'm just shaking my head right now because
you understand?
yes, because I'm a person who still goes to the grocery store and I hold my breath before it says approved. Because I'm used to, like, I know what it is to
not have it approved, right?
Right. And I know it sounds crazy because I know that I have enough to pay for it, but I am still like, I mean, I'll get like my armpit. If it takes a while, my armpits will start getting sweaty. And I'm like, why? But it's because of things like that, because I was that person. And I remember the first time that was done to me, where someone ordered something way more than what they could afford. And I did not have it in my budget. And now we both stuck looking stupid.
Right.
Like
it's always that. You can order lobster and you don't even have money for some more tap water. Like, I just don't get it. I don't get it.
And I do believe, and you talk about this in the book, that this is a mental health issue. And I love that you can do the affirmations and talk about, I mean, this is like financial affirmations. And just, it's almost like setting intentions for the life that you will live if you are caring for yourself.
Right. Exactly. It's not about a budget. It was never about a budget. We all know that 1 + 1 = 2. And if we want something that costs $3, we don't have enough money for it. But we will beg, borrow, steal, cash app, tie upon to get that thing if we don't take care of our financial mental health. If we don't deal with the why, we feel like we can't live without that thing that we cannot afford. And, afford is another dangerous word. And so you've got to do a lot of soul searching. You've got to do some self-reflection tools. I call it what happened was, and make a declaration and say, I have a problem with my finances and I need to change that. And when you can say that in a public way, maybe not on social media, like I ask people to do, but with your family, because baby, them little kids stay in your pockets. Disrupting the budget all the time, and they will survive. If they don't go to Disney every year, they will, trust me, they'll survive. Your cousins, your sister, everybody always in your pocket. Let them know I'm on a journey right now and I want you to join me. And we all have to, stay focused and not get distracted by advertising, by marketing, by because they know how to pull our strings. They know exactly what to do. And it's everywhere on television shows. It's not just, I talk about that. It's not just on the commercials anymore. It's in full episodes of scripted TV now, let alone reality. And so it's difficult to get away. Product placement. it's difficult to get away, and you just feel like, oh, I have to have that, or I'm not living my best life. And that's not true. And really, I think when people take a moment to think about what you actually want, not what everybody says you should want, and then what everybody else says you should have in your life, it pales in comparison to what society says you're supposed to have.
Right.
It's a fraction of that, and it's actually attainable. You know what I mean?
No, I completely know what you mean, because this book, Crawl Before You Ball, and I'm listen, not only do I believe that everyone listening should get this book for themselves, but you should also get it for someone who is an accountability partner in your life, someone that you care about, and take this journey together. Because if I would have known in 2016, when I was really doing my actual comeback journey from my setback season, this book, and it still applies to me today. I have so much to learn from, and also accountability. And I think the idea that you left sections for people to get all of their credit card statements and all of their bills and stuff and write it down, because as you were saying, we're in such a swiping society that sometimes you really don't know what's going on with you. And I think at the genesis of my comeback season, I kept saying I wasn't being honest with myself. And because I was lying to myself, I was comfortable really putting out this image that was lying to everyone else too. So I think that this is such a great way to start your accountability journey, whether you're starting from the bottom, the middle, or you're at the top. And I'm so proud of you, Buffie.
Oh,
I'm
thank you.
very proud of you. And I'm so excited to share this book with my audience. So tell us, first of all, if there is a nugget that you want my audience to walk away from with, and also where we can get this book.
A nugget that I want you to walk away from the book is that you should keep trying to keep up with the Joneses, because they broke. They're my clients. I know. They're my clients. I mean that for real. Like, stop, y'all. It's not worth it. Think about what you want and build on that. Because I really believe that from any income bracket, you can find happiness in life. And life is not about survival only. Right. It's about adventures and happiness and fun and some struggle, but like, it's not just survival. And I want people to be able to have the joy that we have, Erica. You know what I mean? The life where you wake up smiling and you can do what you want to do, and because you've done what you're supposed to do. You can find the book on Amazon. That's the easiest way to get it. It's at Barnes and Nobles also, but yeah, Amazon's probably the easiest. Now, please get the book. It's really good. I put my heart and soul in it. It's a self-help book. And I always thought that self-help books should have some element where you do the work, like you read and then you do the work. Because if you just read and you never do the work, you're not going to put it into practice. It won't become your new normal. So I'm really proud of it, and I hope you guys will enjoy it.
I love it. First of all, it's a very, as I mentioned at the top of the show, Buffie knows how to communicate with the masses. And that's exactly the way that the book is written, in order for it to be digestible, and it's for everyone. I really appreciate that you're not talking over anyone's head.
Oh, I didn't have no ghostwriter. I wrote it. You can tell I wrote it. Yeah. It sounded exactly like me.
Yeah, you're speaking to people like a friend. And I think especially with something as sensitive as finances, you need someone who's going to come at you with definitely the expertise, but also the empathy. And that all is embodied in this book. So, Buffie, before I let you go, is there anything else you would like to share with our comeback community?
Yes, please forgive yourself for your prior financial mistakes. You can't progress if you stay in a place of regret. So, just, wake up tomorrow and say, yo, I made some mistakes, but I'm about to come back like Erica and Buffy did. Okay. And crawl before you ball, boo.
Exactly. Buffie Purselle, author of Crawl Before You Ball, Breaking the Cycle of Generational Poverty. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us on Comeback with Erica Cobb. And to my comeback community, for the full podcast and more on Buffie and where to get the book, Amazon. Go to my online home, comeback.tv. Buffie, I love you. I
love you more. Thank you so much.